I'm Anna Carter, 32 years old, living in Austin, Texas. 6 years ago, I opened my first organic grocery store in a neighborhood no one believed in. Back then, my friends called it a naive gamble. Who would dare compete with giant supermarket chains using a tiny shop that sold produce at higher prices? But I had faith. I believed in bringing clean, sustainable food closer to everyday people. And I believed in myself. Even if that meant sleeping on the office floor, cooking with a mini microwave, and wearing the same shirt for 3 days straight to save money on staff. From one store, I expanded to 3, then 7, and eventually 11 locations across Texas and New Mexico. That wasn't luck. It was the result of every ounce of my youth, energy, and many nights swallowing tears in silence. So when Ryan came along, charming, articulate, and always supportive of what I didn't overthink it. We met at a sustainable development conference. He was a marketing specialist for a recycled fashion brand. We dated for almost 3 years, and 8 months ago, we got engaged. Ryan always made me feel appreciated. He cooked, remembered my staff's birthdays, and held me tightly when I was too exhausted to stand. When I told him I wanted a prenup before getting married, he nodded without hesitation. "This is your blood, sweat, and tears," he said. "I would never touch it." I believed him. I believed him enough to draft a fair, balanced prenup. I made sure that if we broke up, he'd still have a solid safety net to restart. I even opened a separate account for him, used my company card to get him into industry networking events, and encouraged him to explore independent projects. I never wanted anyone beside me to feel insecure. When I handed the draft to both our lawyers, Ryan just smiled. I read it, totally fair. Then he hugged me tightly and said, "We'll never need it anyway." What I didn't expect was, behind those seemingly tender embraces, a meticulously crafted plan. And the man I trusted the most turned out to be the one quietly holding a knife behind my back. At first, I thought it was just a coincidence. One evening after dinner, Ryan sat across from me at the table, swirling his wine glass and smirking. "I read an article," he said, "about modern couples, how they split everything 50-50, including assets, business shares, investments. Don't you think that's fair?" I put my fork down and looked at him. "Fair doesn't mean splitting everything evenly. People contribute differently, don't you think?" Ryan shrugged, smiling like he was joking. But from that day on, those kinds of questions kept repeating. Sometimes it was about real estate ownership, sometimes about the value of my stores, and one day he asked directly, "If you ever decide to sell the business, do I get a say in it?" I replied, "Ryan, this is my company. It's under my name. You're not a stakeholder." He paused, then said, "Maybe I should start being one." A few weeks later, he randomly offered to help rebuild the brand identity. "I've worked in branding," he said. "Your company could really go further if I handled communications." I didn't respond right away. Ryan had never stepped foot in any of the stores outside of holidays. He knew nothing about supply chain management, pricing strategy, or the complex relationships I had with local suppliers. He never asked what the customers needed, only how much profit I was making. Yet in just 2 weeks, he hired a designer, started sending me mock-up logos, and suggested moving your office next to mine for easier collaboration. I began to feel like I was living next to a completely different version of Ryan, no longer gentle, no longer quietly supportive. Instead, he was inserting himself deeper and demanding more. Then one afternoon, my accountant sent me the monthly expense report. Some charges had come from the supplementary credit card, the one I gave Ryan last year for emergencies. A high-end sporting goods store, $1,800. A boutique hotel in Houston, $2,300. A luxury spa full-service package, over $900. I called him immediately. "You've spent nearly $6,000 in 2 weeks, using my company's credit card?" Ryan laughed over the phone. "Sweetheart, you're the CEO. I'm the CEO's fiancé. Don't you think I should look the part?" One night, unable to sleep, I got up for water and saw light leaking from my office. Ryan was sitting there, flipping through files. One marked, "Confidential." "You must have left this here," he said when he saw me. "I was just skimming through." That file was the prenup agreement. I slowly walked to the desk and pulled the folder toward me. "You don't need to review this." All terms were finalized with both lawyers. Ryan stared at me, unblinking. I think we should tweak a few things, maybe add a profit-sharing clause in case of divorce. You're not planning to leave me, right? The next morning when I arrived at the office early to prep for an investor meeting, I found a version of the prenup that wasn't mine. New clauses were highlighted in yellow: equal profit sharing from all current stores, a 50% claim on post-marriage assets, and notably, rights to decision-making in the business. I stood frozen for several minutes, heart pounding so hard it echoed in my ears. At the end of the contract was an added appendix titled, Strategic Marketing Contributions by Party B, Ryan Clark. My hands trembled as I flipped to the last page. The spot where my signature was supposed to be was blank. But under Ryan's name the date was listed. From the week before. I've known exhaustion, I've lived with pressure. I've spent countless sleepless nights worrying about inventory and expansion. But never had my body physically trembled like it did that morning. I called my lawyer, Mr. Dawson, who had stood by me since my very first store opened. His voice was gravelly but firm as I described the altered agreement. Anna, are you sure that version isn't just the original one someone edited by hand? I'm sure, I replied. I've never signed anything with those clauses, and they were absolutely not part of our meeting with both lawyers. He was silent for a long moment. We need to meet in person. Bring both versions with you. That afternoon I came home earlier than usual. Ryan was in the kitchen wearing the shirt I'd bought him for his birthday. He smiled and raised a smoothie glass. Home early? I was just making drinks for us. I didn't respond. I placed the two files on the kitchen counter. Ryan, I said, my voice strangely calm, can you explain why our prenup now includes these new clauses? His face stiffened. What are you talking about? I opened both versions, pointing line by line. A new clause giving you 50% of the company's shares. The right to participate in expansion decisions. A subsection stating that Party B gets a management role if the marriage lasts over a year. I never agreed to any of this, Ryan. Someone clearly add these after we finalized everything with the lawyers. He stared at me, then sighed and set his smoothie down. Anna? You're overreacting. These are just small adjustments. I asked a buddy of mine, he's a divorce lawyer, and he said it's totally reasonable. The future wife deserves protection. I looked at him, stunned. You call sneaking in terms that let you take half my company a small adjustment? It's not like I changed everything. You still keep main control. His voice was light, as if we were talking about changing the curtains. I pulled out a chair and sat down, eyes locked on the face I used to trust with everything. Ryan, you didn't invest a single dollar into this company. You didn't lift a finger, didn't pull a single all-nighter when supply chains broke down. You weren't the one standing in a grocery store at 3 a.m. trying to save wilting produce after the AC failed. Don't talk to me about needing protection. He frowned. You're acting like I'm some kind of freeloader. And aren't you? The words came out sharp as a blade, and for the first time he actually took a step back. I've never counted pennies with you. I wanted you to feel valued. That's why I gave you a card. Opened an account in your name. Supported you when you said you wanted to start something of your own. But now you're using all of that to try and steal half of everything I built? Ryan stood up, his voice rising. I just want us to build a future together. If you're keeping everything, then what kind of marriage is this? I let out a dry laugh. Marriage isn't a shareholder agreement, Ryan. If you want a stake, start by working, not by secretly altering legal documents. He slammed his hand on the table. You don't get it. I just want to make sure that if things go south, I'm not left with nothing. That's normal. I stayed quiet. A bitter taste rose in my throat. Left with nothing? You never had anything to begin with. I stood up, gathered the documents into a folder. I'll be seeing my lawyer, and if you interfere with any more legal paperwork, I won't just cancel the wedding, I'll take this to court. Ryan was speechless. I walked out of the kitchen, my feet heavy but my heart finally clear. For the first time I understood with chilling certainty. The man I once loved wasn't standing beside me anymore. He was standing across from me, calculating, waiting for the right moment to strike. I used to wonder when Ryan began to change. Now I know. It all started when Lucas, Ryan's half-brother, returned to town. I had met Lucas once, over a year ago, during Thanksgiving dinner at their parents' house. A man in his 40s who had bounced between careers, never staying in one place longer than 6 months. Limp handshake, smug grin, eyes that constantly measured worth. Back then, I thought he was harmless. I was wrong. After that dinner, Lucas moved into a small apartment less than 15 minutes from our home. Ryan said his brother was just regrouping after a third divorce. I didn't ask questions. Maybe that was my first mistake. From the moment Lucas reappeared, Ryan's conversations shifted. More about finances, assets, marriage dynamics. One night he said, "Lucas says I should know your financial details, otherwise I'll get screwed later." I laughed. If you're taking advice from a guy on his third divorce, I should start packing. I thought he was joking, but in the weeks that followed, Ryan kept bringing up protecting oneself, fair marital rights, and risk mitigation strategies. Those weren't Ryan's words. They were Lucas's. I first noticed something off when Gina, my CFO, told me a potential investor had called our office requesting a private consultation about our business model. The man claimed he was looking into partnerships in the organic food industry and wanted insights on operations and expansion. He said his name was Lou Smith, American male around 40 and oddly familiar with internal structures. Gina said, "Do you know him?" I shook my head. A chill crept through me. That night I checked our office call log. The number matched the one Lucas had used to text Ryan for drinks. I pulled up the automated call recording archive. The voice, unmistakably Lucas. "We're interested in converting your business model into a franchise system, especially your revenue by servant approach. Only someone inside the company would know that detail." The next morning, I called Ryan into my home office. He was on his phone, laughing about something. I didn't need to guess who was on the other end. It was Lucas. I said it directly. Lucas pretended to be an investor to get access to my company? Ryan froze. He looked up but kept that same nonchalant tone. "He just wanted to help you see the risks in your current model. By secretly calling my company and digging for financial data?" Ryan hesitated for a few seconds, then tried to explain. "Lucas used to be a business consultant. He knows how to protect family. He just wanted you to understand how vulnerable you are without legal safeguards." I slammed my hand on the table. "Vulnerable? Ryan, I'm not a child who needs a babysitter. He's actively trying to infiltrate my company. And I'm certain the changes to the prenup were his idea too." Ryan didn't deny it. "Hell lost everything in a divorce once, Anna. I just didn't want that happening to you. Or to me. Do you know how many wealthy people get burned by their spouses?" "Yeah," I said through clenched teeth. "And now I know exactly what that feels like." 3 days later, I received an anonymous email in my business inbox. "Be careful who you keep close. Not everyone is marrying for love." I traced the IP address, and it was no surprise. It came from a cafe just 3 blocks away from Lucas's apartment. I didn't have official proof, but my gut was right. Lucas wasn't just trying to protect his brother. He was plotting to stake a claim in the one thing I'd built with everything I had: my sweat, my time, my life. I still remember the vibration of my phone in the middle of a meeting with the El Paso operations team. The screen lit up with a text from Lorraine, Ryan's mother. "Now we need to talk about how you're treating Ryan. He told us everything. The whole family is deeply disappointed in you." I reread it twice, hoping I'd misunderstood. 20 minutes later, another message came through. This time from Ryan's sister Elise. The same Elise who once cried on my shoulder when her ex cheated on her. "I didn't think you were someone so calculating. Ryan truly loves you. If you plan on keeping everything for yourself, I don't know if this is even a healthy relationship anymore." A healthy relationship? I financially supported Ryan for 3 years so he wouldn't have to give up his fragile marketing job. I paid Lorraine's hospital bills when she broke her wrist. I bought plane tickets for the entire Clark family to attend a wedding in Seattle, because money was tight. And now, after one conversation with Lucas, I was suddenly the greedy, selfish one. The villain in their story. That evening, I got a call from Ryan's father, Tomez, a man who used to email me encouraging notes every time we launched a new location. His voice was deep, distant. "Anna, we heard you refused to give Ryan any rights after marriage. Don't you think that's a bit harsh?" I straightened up. "Mr. Thomas, the prenup was something Ryan and I agreed on from the start. But the recent version, He altered it without my consent. He went quiet for a moment. Lucas says you're keeping everything and have no intention of treating Ryan like a real partner. I paused. Did Lucas also tell you I control all of Ryan's finances? Said, you manage his credit cards and personal spending, and that you threatened to cut him off if he disagreed. I let out a bitter laugh. So now I'm the villain in all this. I don't blame Ryan's family for loving him, but I never imagined they'd put blind trust in Lucas so easily. Lucas, the man who deceived 3 wives and went bankrupt twice from shady investments. And now, after a few family gatherings and a few stories soaked in so-called divorce wisdom, he had them all turning their backs on me. And worse, I started receiving anonymous emails from a suspicious address, protectryan@gmail.com. If you keep mistreating Ryan, we'll release the documents you're hiding. A controlling woman like you doesn't deserve to be a wife. I forwarded it to my lawyer. 3 days later, he sent back an analysis. The IP was linked to a cafe, the same one Lucas often used as his remote workspace. I decided I was done speculating. One morning, I called Ryan into the office, not our home. No more blurred lines. I placed a voice recorder, a stack of documents, and a steady gaze in front of him. Ryan, I began, we need to talk, but this time everything will be recorded. He frowned. Recording? Are you threatening me? No, I'm protecting myself. I pressed record. I need to know, did you participate in altering the prenup without my agreement? He sat still, then nodded slightly. I just wanted some protection. Lucas said, did you know Lucas posed as an investor and called my company? His eyes blinked rapidly. I'm not sure. Maybe he was just trying to help me verify things. I slid another printed document toward him. This email from Protect Ryan was sent from an IP address traced to Lucas's usual cafe. And you know exactly what he's been telling your mother, don't you? Ryan stared down at the table. He didn't say another word. Do you realize this could constitute breach of fiduciary duty in handling private assets? I asked, my voice steady. At last, he sighed. I didn't mean for it to go this far. But you did. I stopped the recorder. And I'll be sending this to my attorney. Either way, this wedding is over. Ryan said nothing. He stood up and walked out of the office, leaving behind an Anna who was no longer naive and no longer soft. I was at the office, reviewing the grand opening schedule for our new location, when I received a message from a name I never expected. Maya Clark. Ryan's cousin. Anna, are you free? I just discovered something, and I think you need to know. Maya was a senior finance major at the University of Texas, and had been living in the same apartment as Lucas for over a month while interning nearby. She was the only one in Ryan's family who had apologized after they all turned their backs on me. I texted back, go ahead. I'm listening. No, I want to meet in person. This shouldn't be sent over text. We met at a quiet coffee shop tucked inside an old shopping plaza. Maya arrived early, her face pale, eyes filled with conflict. Lucas asked me to fix his laptop yesterday, Maya began, her voice softening. It had a virus, so he wanted me to back up some files before reinstalling the system. I said nothing. The coffee in my hand suddenly tasted bitter. There was a folder in the D drive named Accounts, Maya continued, pulling out her phone and opening Google Drive. I copied a backup, just in case. Thought it was old financial records, but when I opened it, she pushed her phone toward me. I saw a long list of Excel and Word files along with scanned handwritten notes. The first subfolder was titled, Control Plan, Anna Carter. I opened the first file. Timeline, engagement to exit. February, engagement. June, add new clauses to the prenup. September, increase infiltration via Ryan. December, legal marriage. After 12 months, file for asset division, PFDC. Post-divorce goal, retain 25% ownership plus a management role for Lucas. It felt like someone had just sucked the air out of my lungs. Maya continued. There are detailed notes too, on how he coached Ryan to persuade you, even strategies on turning the family against you. Another Word file was titled, Emotional Manipulation, Step by Step. Praise Anna's success to gain her trust. Suggest sharing little by little, starting with small things. If Anna pushes back, play the victim. You don't trust me. I'm just trying to protect myself. If discovered, blame it on emotions. Say it's all because I love you. Every sentence was a cut, not just betrayal, but an intricate play, scripted over months, orchestrated by a man I never even considered a real threat. There's a video too, Maya said, of Lucas calling someone named Kyle. The man he calls his personal lawyer. She hit play. Yeah, she hasn't figured it out yet. Ryan just sent me the latest financial report from her store chain. She's guarding everything pretty tightly, but the kid's doing great. Once he pushes for a revised contract, we're in. The goal's still 25% equity and a management title for me, right? The voice on the other end chuckled. Absolutely. Once she's married, the court will force profit sharing. Especially if we can prove she's overly controlling the finances. I closed Maya's phone gently. Do you have all of this saved? She nodded. I've sent everything to your lawyer. Mr. Dawson, I think you need solid legal ground. I took Maya's hand. Thank you. Truly. I'm sorry, Anna, Maya said, her eyes misty. I didn't know Lucas was this awful. I shook my head. It's not your fault. But from now on, everything changes. 2 days later, Ryan showed up at my office. No call, no warning. The receptionist barely had time to say, "He's crying in the lobby." I came out. Ryan stood there, gaunt, clutching a stack of papers. "I know now," he whispered. "All of it. Lucas used me like a puppet." I said nothing. He handed me the papers, copies of the files Maya had sent. "I didn't know. I thought I was protecting you." But it was all just a script. I saw the truth in his eyes, not simple regret, but the horror of realizing he'd been used as a weapon against the woman he claimed to love. I spoke quietly. "I believe you weren't the one who started this, but choosing who you stand with, that was always your choice." Ryan nodded. "I know. And I accept losing you." I turned away. But for the first time, I felt something ending. Not just our relationship, but the entire cruel game they once believed they'd win. 3 weeks after our final meeting, I received an email from Ryan. Subject: give me one last chance. The first line read, "I know I don't deserve it, but if any part of you still believes the man I was is still in there, I'm willing to start over. No Lucas, no games, just you and me." To the very last line, no anger, no doubts. Just no more feeling at all. I didn't reply, because I understood this was never about the prenup, or the shares, or the money. It was about trust, and once that's been betrayed this deeply, no apology can mend it. The following week, Lucas was taken into federal custody after my attorney filed an official complaint for corporate espionage and theft of proprietary data. Maya's evidence, including video, audio files, and sneaky emails from a secondary account, was enough for criminal prosecution. The case was classified as organized commercial espionage. Since Lucas didn't just illegally access internal data, he attempted to sell it to a competing firm in Dallas. Ryan wasn't present at the initial hearing. I heard he was in Colorado, renting a cabin to rethink his life. I no longer cared. A few weeks later, his mother sent me a short message. "Anna, I understand now. And I'm sorry. Our whole family trusted the wrong person. In the company, I launched a complete overhaul. We replaced our entire financial management system with encrypted, dual authentication software. Remote access permissions were tightened. Every employee was retrained on internal security and data leak protocols. I also hired an independent auditor to review our entire supply chain. No more weak points for people like Lucas to sneak through." Now, at the bottom of every business email I send, there's a simple line. Trust isn't given, it's protected. One afternoon, I saw Maya again. She had finished her internship and was preparing to accept a master's scholarship. "You know," she said as we sipped tea on my office balcony, "there were moments I thought if we hadn't caught this in time, you might have been the one dragged down, not Lucas." I nodded. "I used to think the same. Are you okay now?" I looked out toward the fading sun lighting up the sign of my very first store, the place where I once slept on the floor, counting crates of vegetables by hand. I'm okay, I said. More than okay. At the end of the month I hosted a small gathering, not to celebrate anything specific but to thank the team who stood by me through chaos. Gina, my CFO, raised her glass. To the woman who didn't just get back up, she made the whole system stronger after every fall. I said nothing, just clinked glasses and smiled. I no longer wear the engagement ring. It sits locked in a safe, not as a keepsake, but as a reminder. Never let love cloud your instincts. And if anyone ever asks what I've learned from all this, I'll say, not everyone who enters your life is there for you. Some come for what you've built. Some come because they think you're easy to manipulate. And some just want to see how long it'll take before you realize they're using you. But no matter what, as long as you hold on to yourself, no one can take away what matters most. Not your money. Not your company. But your freedom. My story isn't just about betrayal or a scheme to steal assets. It's a lesson in trust, boundaries, and inner strength. In real life, you can love with everything you have, give your all, but never hand someone else the power to dictate your life. Kindness isn't weakness. And when everything falls apart, the most important thing isn't clinging to what you lost. It's learning to rise, stronger, clearer, and never trading your freedom for the wrong kind of love. What do you think about Anna's decision? Should she have forgiven or stood her ground like she did? Share your thoughts below and don't forget to follow the channel for more stories about life, love, and the powerful lessons hidden within every family.